Good morning and welcome to another episode of Morning Market Call. I'm your host, Joel Toby, and with me I have Eduardo. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, 'tis the season for tech marketing. The hiring process has begun, and there's a lot of people in it, want to be in it, and Eduardo's the man because he's done it. And he's here to tell us a little bit about his experience, what he's done, and how you can do better in your hiring, interviewing process. So, Eduardo, you went to Amazon for your internship.
Correct.
And you also accepted a full-time offer and will be going back there in finance. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Amazon.
Well, thank you very much for having me here, and it's great. It was like an amazing opportunity. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Amazon is a very dynamic company, so like it's very fast-paced. So like 3 months flew by, and it was like I felt very, very intimidated just by like the high quality of the people up there. Like they're just very, very smart. But it was great. Like I learned a ton, and I'm very glad to have the opportunity to go back.
Great. So the interview process, tell us a little bit, how does that work at Amazon?
Okay, so that's a very good question, because I've had like many first years asking me that question, and I think it's important for people to know. So like it's different for everybody, I guess, from what I heard, but most of the people, they have a mix of case interviews and behavior interviews. Mm-hmm. So you're basically going to have like 1 or 2 behavior interviews, and it's just going to be the typical like tell me about a time.
Yeah.
And they are looking for a few things, and we're going to talk about that later. But the case interviews, they are not as like number focused usually as like a consulting interview. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're gonna have you like do a case in front of them, like just like calculating numbers most of the time. Sometimes it happens, but I think most of the cases are very strategic. It's more like think about the scenario and come up with suggestions and recommendations. And as long as you have like a reasoning behind everything that you're saying, you're good. You know, they are not looking for one specific answer.
Sounds great. Yeah, I interviewed with them, and I got the number one. They wanted a specific number, and I had to calculate it right there on the spot. It was kind of fun. At least it was over the phone, so I had some time to pull out my notepad and make some notes. Well, great. So then, what are some techniques? Because Amazon's very unique. Well, I wouldn't say very unique, but they're very specific in how they interview, and so which is good news because that means we can prepare for that. What are some techniques, some skills, some things that we should prepare for interviews with Amazon?
Well, like there are a few things that I'm going to point out. So like the first thing is that they claim to be the most customer-centric company in the world. And I believe that they are to a certain extent, because they really make their decisions based on what the customer wants and how the customer will be affected. So like if during the interview process you can bring up experiences that you had in the past where you really focused on the customer when you were like doing your strategy, really thinking about how the customer is going to benefit from this. I think the second thing is that like they are not looking for people that only know one thing. So like if they're looking for a finance guy, they are not looking for a guy that only knows finance. That's everything he cares about. So it's a good idea that like during the cases you go over like other things that you wouldn't talk about, like maybe in different interviews with other companies. For instance, like if they ask you a finance question, you can talk about like the finance part of it, but you can also talk about like marketing consequences, like is HR going to be affected? What about operations? Like is it going to increase productivity or whatever? So like all the other areas and how they affect finance, they like that very much. Like, and the last thing that I would think that is very, very unique about Amazon is that they really care that people make decisions very fast. Mm-hmm. One of their business principles actually is that like most decisions are reversible. Mm-hmm. So like they want you to make a decision right there and then, even if you don't have perfect information. And if it's not the right decision, you just go back and change it. So like they don't like people that sit on the fence that much.
Yeah, so fail fast.
Correct, because like they have like so many products and ventures out there that they're not sure that all of them are going to work. So like they want the employees to have the same mindset. So like if you're faced with a challenge, you just go there and do it, make a decision, and then like if it doesn't work, you're just going to have a second chance to look at it. So like during the interview process, I think it would be a very good idea to bring up experiences that you had where you had to make a decision without perfect information.
Great advice. I think having gone through that experience myself, I would add that customer-centric view. Start with the customer and go backwards. That's the way that they do things. And look at the interview the same way. You are like a customer of Amazon or vice versa. Like, how can you bring value to them? Think of it that way and work backwards. And that will help you as you incorporate everything else that's been talked about. Eduardo, thank you so much for bringing your inside experience and expertise on this. Good luck to everyone out there that's looking to go to Amazon or other tech companies out there. And we wish you the best of luck. And don't forget to check us out at morningmarketcall.org.
MMC is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in association with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by a generous donation from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams, and is produced by Rhett Weller, Todd Castagna, Mason Chen, Joel Tovey, and Sabrina Beck, with line producing by Kika Latu. For more information, find us on our Facebook and Twitter or at morningmarketcall.org.